All right, guys. Hey, it's me, Tim. I'm back with another video, probably wearing the same clothes and the same hat as my last video. But today I am wanting to talk about wide angle lenses. I'm going to go into a series of different wide angle lenses that I have used to record several videos on this channel and several videos of my family and close friends and interviews and other things that I've shot while using the Canon EOS R system to record any sort of video. But today we are going to talk about the difference between the aftermarket Samyang Rokinon 14mm f.28 lens and the new ultra small awesome Canon 16mm f.2.8 lens. As you can see from the very get-go, these lenses, I can't see, let's see, these lenses are pretty small in the grand scheme of things, but I'm going to tell you a couple of the differences between the two other than their size. Now, as I've shared, if you've seen my last kind of just like goodbye video to this, before I pack this up and send it off to another user, I've used this Rokinon lens for the last probably year plus, ever since I bought the Canon EOS R before upgrading to the R6s and the R5s that I have. I've used this lens to pretty much record almost every video on this channel. It has been just an absolute blessing. It's awesome. It was at that time the smallest wide angle lens that you could buy for the Canon EOS R. And then out of the blue, like out of nowhere, Canon like dropped this 16mm lens that is like the perfect lens for vlogging. Now, obviously the biggest difference is this one is 14mm and this is 16mm. Now that may not mean a lot, but when you're recording from like a desk, like my camera is not actually very far from me at the current moment, but I'm able to shoot extremely wide into this room so you can kind of see my studio space and my office space. But I was using this before buying the 15 to 35 lens, and then I bought this not necessarily to replace, but as a complement to my other Canon R6. So before we really get into the details too much, I want to show you what the Canon, if you can see here, look how small that is on that body. Like that is like super small lens in comparison to the 15 to 35 and really even the Rokinon 14mm. So let me take this 16mm off my Canon R6 and toss on this 14mm, which again at the time was the smallest wide angle lens that you could buy for a Canon EOS R system. And as you can see, it is definitely significantly larger than, let me put it like here, significantly larger than the 16mm. So the real question I guess you would need to ask yourself is, do you need the extra 2mm to record on your YouTube channel or whatever you're recording? Or if you're using it for photography, do you really need the additional 2mm? Because if you can, you're talking about almost twice the price for this Rokinon 14mm lens than you are the 16mm native RF lens from Canon. So let's go ahead and talk very quickly about the price differences between these two lenses. The Rokinon 15 to 24 is roughly about $549 to $599, depending upon whether or not if you can find it on sale. Now you can get the RF version of the Rokinon with Samyang lens used on eBay for about $350 to $400, so you can have a little bit of savings there, but it's still not as cheap as the Canon 16mm RF. This one is about $299 if you can find it right now, because you just can't find it anywhere at the current moment. It's sold out everywhere. This was the only lens from Canon ever in my 13 years of shooting on Canon bodies that I've ever pre-ordered. but I was so excited about it because I wanted to use it for this channel. But while I was waiting for it, I actually bought the 15-35 as well. But I'm going to use this more as a complement to this channel and to my photography than I am going to do it for anything else. Now, another difference between these two is the Rokinon Samyang 14 actually focuses a little bit closer. This has a minimum focus distance of about 0.2 meters. This one, the 16 Canon, has a minimum focus distance of about 16 meters. So the Rokinon definitely focuses a little bit closer. So if you're filming something that you need to kind of get very close up to, then I would definitely recommend the Rokinon. Now, I will say this as well about these two lenses, is that the autofocus is actually about the same. I haven't noticed anything, and I think that's a large part to do with the dual pixel focus thingy joint that comes into the Canon bodies. Now, the Canon bodies have gotten drastically better from the Canon EOS R. The EOS R, although it was great and I still own one, it just, the R6 just focuses better, focuses faster, keeps locked on focus faster on my eye using the eye autofocus, although the Canon R had that as well. Another thing is that both lenses are really quiet. The Canon has the STM motor, which is a silent stepping motor that they put into a lot of their lenses, and this lens you can barely hear. But to be 100% honest, I've had the Rokinon 14mm for about 1.5 years now, and I've never once heard it hunt the focus. It's the perfect vlogging lens if you were looking for something about 1.5 years ago. Now, the one thing that I'm actually still kind of shocked about is that there hasn't been more RF support for aftermarket lenses. And the Rokinon Samyang lenses definitely kind of fit the bill, because there was only at that time the 85 and the 14, and they both run about the same price at about $599. So if you're looking for quietness versus quietness, they're both pretty quiet in the grand scheme of things. Now, I will say the other thing about this lens is neither one of these lenses has in-body stabilization in the lens. There's no stabilization in the lens at all. But if you're shooting on the Canon R6 and the R5, that has IBIS built into the body. But if you wanted that extra stabilization, if you're hand holding for filming or anything like that, then the 15-35 at $2,400 does have in-body stabilization or IBIS built into the lens. Now, one of the other things that I really like about the Canon 16 versus the Rokinon RF is this obviously doesn't have a built-in lens hood, whereas this lens does. Now, I've shared this before in my other video. I have knocked this lens hood against a ton of things just over the years, the last 18 months that I've had it, and it has been quite frustrating, if I'm being 100% honest with you. But it does protect the lens, because as you can kind of see, the lens here does kind of protrude out of the body just a little bit of the lens. Now, the other thing that I really like between these two is that they're both awesome. I mean, I think you're going to find winners and losers based upon any body or any lens that you purchase when you're using it to record with. But when you're recording 4K in the Canon EOS R, you would get the 14 would be about a f2, not an F, I'm sorry, it would be about 21 or 22 millimeters because of the crop mode in the 4K, whereas in the EOS R you don't have the crop mode. So that is something that maybe you would consider between getting this if you had the EOS R versus if you had it for the EOS R6 or R5. Now, both of these lenses are drastically cheaper than the 15-35. So if you're looking to save some money, you cannot go wrong with either one of these lenses. Or what you would do is you would buy the 14mm focal length until you can probably get your hands on the 16mm from Canon, and you could probably sell this on eBay or aftermarket for maybe a little bit of a profit. versus what you would get the $299 version of this lens for. Now, I have seen like this lens on eBay for like $500. I personally would not pay $500 for this lens. I would wait until it was back in stock regularly, which probably won't happen until after the holidays. But if you are in the market for a wide angle lens and you don't want to spend the $2,400 on the 15 to 35, then go out and get the Rokinon. I can tell you this, you're going to be extremely pleased with it because it's a great lens. I cannot speak higher about it. Now, I am selling my lens because I bought the 16 millimeter and it's just a smaller footprint, and I also have the 15 to 35. And I have this like little throwaway lens that sometimes if I'm doing something like that, I'm going to bang it up. This is the Canon 10 to 18 millimeter, 4.5 to 5.6. If I'm shooting in bright sunny light, and I can just put an adapter on this and kind of stop it down and use this on my Canon EOS R6. But I'll probably end up selling this as well. Again, I'm obsessed with wide angle lenses, so you can see why, because I have so many different wide angle lenses, primarily just for recording on this channel. But yeah, those are really the big differences between the two. You can be happy. You will be happy with either one. I can guarantee you. And I would not shun away the fact that one is an aftermarket lens versus one being a native lens. They're both great. They both focus great. They both will be a tremendous lens to have in your bag if you're doing any sort of recording or vlogging or recording of any sort of type with video on the Canon EOS R. But guys, yeah, those are just my thoughts between the differences of these two lenses. You're going to like both of them. So go out and buy one or the other, whichever one you can get your hands on, and just get out and record and make more content for your YouTube channel or whatever else you're recording. But that's all I got for you guys today. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. Yeah, I can't wait to see you in the next video. Peace.